people. Review of the week time. Yeah, not really a great deal. Well, we've had... Last week was more of a kind of rumor mill week, if that makes sense. There was more kind of talk about like fights that could potentially be in the pipeline in the next couple of months, as opposed to what's actually taking place and transpiring. I know I can already imagine a lot of people in the comments are not going to be best pleased that I talk about this, but I want to talk about it for a variety of reasons. One, because there was some pro fights on it, and two, because some of the guys actually called out legit boxers. So let's talk at the very start of this about the show that happened, the Misfits show, which did have pro boxing on it as well, in Manchester last night. We're not going to talk about the whole show, obviously. I did see that knockout of that Darren Till guy, who I think he started in MMA, and quite frankly, he seems to be having quite a good run in this Misfits thing. He got a nice highlight reel knockout last night. In January of this year, and I think they did the press conference in was it December or November? But they did a press conference for it. Remember, he was meant to fight Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury actually pulled out of that. That's not the first time they've pulled out of a fight against, well, obviously Darren Till's not a YouTuber, but when Jake Paul was originally the opponent, when that fight was originally being talked about, it was made for 2021. I think he pulled out more than once, if I'm not mistaken, and then they finally took place. He was meant to fight Darren Till, I think, in January in Manchester. And honest to God, like, seeing how... Look, Darren Till's not going to do anything in boxing, but just see, he's got some hands on him, and seeing how bad Tommy Fury still looks, that's a competitive fight. That really is. We did have some pro fights. We had Ty Mitchell against this guy, Sean Hempel. Right, I watched that fight last night. I thought Ty Mitchell did enough to win. You would say Ty Mitchell's an interesting one, right? He did some time, right? So he started his career in 2010. And then you'll see here, he lost via stoppage to Simon O'Donnell at York Hall in 2011, October 2011. Came back only in May this year, so nearly 14 years later, against Idris Virgo. Stopped him in 3 rounds. Idris Virgo was undefeated at the time. He has a bit of ability there, Ty Mitchell. 34 years old though. So what ability he had is probably, it's long probably gone, like proper ability. But yeah, there's something to him, right? You could tell back in the day, if he'd have been guided correctly, he probably would have been somewhat decent. The guy he was fighting was brought in as an opponent a couple of months ago. On a boxer show, he beat Mark Jeffries on a boxer show in Barnsley. That probably would have been a Callum Simpson show. Previously, had been beaten by William Skull. Seeing how this guy looked in the ring, yikes! I'd say that William Skull fight would have been horrific, to be honest with you. So that was the pro fight that was on it. Seeing that Joey Essex guy, he lost that fight in my opinion. He looked awful. Seriously, he's trained by Mark Tibbs. You think Mark? I know he can only do so much, but like he looked genuinely atrocious in there. And I want to talk about, which fight was it? It was this guy, right? I think it's this guy right here, Chase the Moore, right? 29 years old, American, 6'5", is a heavyweight, right? Now, I'm assuming this is his Misfits record, or has he boxed pro before? Yeah, he's boxed pro before. Are these pro bouts? These are pro bouts. Okay, so he's 4-2. He's lost the fight. He was stopped in his pro debut, right, in 2022, by a guy. Let's see what his undefeated. That guy's still undefeated now, but done zilch in that time, to be fair. And then, right, he got DQ'd against a guy called Gregory Knight. That's all right, hitting while he was down, and that's the only fight of Gregory Knight's career. I wonder, are these also Misfit shows, or what are they? Cut long and the short of it, right? He called out Johnny Bosch. Can't hate on him for doing that. And I remember at the time, look, I know Johnny Fisher is going, and he's going to carry on his pro career and all that stuff, right? I said at the time, I think I even said it in my post-fight review, that maybe Johnny Fisher really should be looking at something like Misfits. And people were not happy when I said that, right? And my logic is, right, and it's not just been Johnny Fisher. I think Harvey Bent is doing Misfits as well, the son of Nigel Benn, or to say Harvey Ben. Harvey Ben, the son of Nigel Benn. Now, he had a couple of pro fights back in the day. I think he lost. He's lost more than once. But Frank Warren back in the day signed him, and he looked terrible, atrocious, horrifically bad. Like, you can say what you want about Conor Benn when he started his pro career. Yeah, is it Harvey or Harley? It's one or the other. He looked even worse. Like, he literally looked, actually, to be honest, Campbell Hatton looked better. That's how bad he was, right? Campbell Hatton genuinely did look better, because this guy, I remember one of his fights was on Box Nation. He fought a journeyman who, I know it's going to sound bad, but he really long neck, like a Naomi Campbell neck, really long. And honestly, it was actually painful watching that fight, how poor both guys were. And that guy was a journeyman, right? A noted journeyman. Well, I say noted, but you know what I mean? A journeyman with, like, over God knows how many losses. He's got into Misfits now, I think. So I don't think there's any shame in it. And for someone like a Johnny Fisher is always, Johnny Fisher is kind of cursed in one sense, because he's always going to be a ticket seller. So he's always going to bring an audience. So you're always going to kind of have to get someone in who is going to justify the big audience, if you know what I mean. So you can't just bring him down right the way down, which I think he needs to be, and gradually build him. He's always going to have the audience, unless you bring him on the road, which might be an idea for Eddie Hearn. So that's a problem. Whereas Misfits, you bring the audience, they'll have a good time. His dad would fit in. Well, I say fit, you know, those seats, they're not that big, but, you know, Johnny Fisher Sr. is like. But still, you know, all jokes aside, he would fit in there with the kind of whole Essex gimmick, and I think he'd do quite well. He'd probably make some decent money in Misfits as well, to be honest with you. And then if he wants to, he's still young enough. And then if we see improvement in the gym, not away from the limelight, but away from the pressure of the actual, you know, fights. Because if you think about it like this, right, at the end of the day, someone like a Johnny Fisher, how many wins before Eddie Hearn starts talking about, or someone starts talking about stepping up the levels? Man got beat by Dave Allen. All right, Dave Allen is a fringe British level fighter. Well, if you think about it like this, Jamie TKV is going to fight Fraser Clark. Fraser Clark handled Dave Allen with no issues whatsoever. They're British level fighters. So that says to me, Dave Allen's not even, you know, at British level fully yet. So where does, you see what I mean? So that was the Misfits show in a nutshell last night. I'll probably do a separate video on this, but Anthony Joshua, this is according to Boxing Scene and TalkSport, reveals his return date with a carefully chosen opponent. So this is from TalkSport. Eddie Hearn reveals Anthony Joshua's return date for a fight with carefully chosen opponent. According to promoter Eddie Hearn, unified champion AJ will face a carefully selected opponent in either January or early February, before one last roll of the dice next summer. So we won't see AJ this year. That's a given. So we're not going to see Anthony Joshua this year. So this will be the first calendar year, 2025, where AJ won't be competing. He will not have a professional fight in a year of 2025. A carefully picked opponent. Okay, well, I like the fact that, look, right, coming off a devastating knockout loss, coming off the back of an injury, I can't begrudge him having an easy touch for the comeback fight, right? Now, me and Addy have talked about this before. Shouldn't he be just put straight in at the deep end? Shouldn't he be this? Should be that? Well, I don't mind someone having an easy touch after their first fight back, right? The problem is that AJ, when he had that comeback against Usyk, he had, I think, 3 back-to-back easy fights. 4, wasn't it, actually? 4 back-to-back easy fights. Really 4, because Ngannou was nothing. And then straight into the deep end. That was not the right thing to do, I don't think. I think, if anything, he fought backwards, because he fought the easiest opponent in the second fight, or arguably the last fight, if you count Francis Ngannou, and he arguably fought the toughest opponent in the first fight. So they kind of did it the wrong way. They actually kind of went backwards with AJ in the rehabilitation as opposed to forwards. So a comeback fight against someone like a Tony Yoka, hypothetically speaking, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, and then roll the dice for a big fight next summer. He says we got to choose carefully for the next fight, and I think his best way in all of this is to just be honest and say the next fight will be the comeback fight to build into a roll of the dice for next summer. We need a top 15 guy. It's not going to be Fury, Usyk, or Dubois, all those top guys. Yeah, obviously it's going to be someone less than that. Okay. So that's what Eddie Hearn has to say on that. So we're not getting AJ this year. We're going to get him at the very earliest early next year, January or February. Comeback fight, rehabilitation fight, and then we shall wait and see what he elects to do from there. So let's have a quick look. We get some more boxing news in there. Let's have a quick look at Everything Boxing and the Ring magazine, because as I said, it's been a quiet, realistically, when you think about it, with the exception of a Telma White, this month has been really bad. This month has been really bad. Everything Boxing are saying, been told that the Fraser Clark JBTKV British Heavyweight title bout will now not take place in September, but likely at a later date. Fight was reportedly set to headline Boxer's first BBC show on September the 27th. So, what's going on here? Well, actually, honestly, what's going on here? So, first we're hearing it's going to be Boxer and BBC. They're going to have dates, etc. Then we're hearing it's only going to be a couple of dates a year, which for me just doesn't make sense, because how are you going to keep your fighters? Because fighters are going to want to be active, which they are. They're going to want to be active. If you only have 4 dates a year, they're not going to give you the funds to be able to put all your fighters out on those 4 shows. If they could afford to have Fraser Clark, Jamie TKV, Ben Whitaker, Adam Azim all on the one show, happy days, brilliant shows, and they can get out 4 times a year, happy days, everyone's laughing. It's not going to be the case. So how are you going to work this? And how are you going to crucially keep said fighters? Because if they're thinking we're lucky to get 2 dates a year, they're walking. They're not sticking around. Different if you had established fighters, like if you had an Anthony Joshua, an Alexander Usyk, a Darren Dubois. If you said to them, I might only have 2 dates a year for you, but that's what we do anyway. Ben Whitaker's in the prospect stage. Adam Azim is fringe world level or European level. They need more dates than just 2 dates a year. They can't be doing that. So, I don't know. Big problems here, I think, for Boxer and Ben Shalom. Just based off of that. If it's not going to be, well, and then again, you're cutting it too close now for September 27 anyway. But when are you going to do it? You know, when are you going to pull the trigger? Someone who may be pulling the trigger on a big fight is Frank Warren. Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley in play. I'm told that a fight between interim champions, actually, Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley, is possible for the O2 Arena on October 25th. That would be a very interesting fight if in fact it did happen. I've said it once and I will say it again. I would make Joseph Parker the favourite in that fight. I think that skill-wise, he's just superior in pretty much every way to Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is tough, he's durable, he hits very hard, he's going to show bags of heart, he's not going to quit. Ultimately, I said it in the previous video, I'll say it again, I think Parker has way too much to his game. And I think that he would maybe not stop Fabio Wardley, although he is hitting quite hard these days. But at the very least, he'd win a comfortable, wide, unanimous points decision, I fully believe. But it's a good fight nonetheless if it happens. I mean, Parker needs to get a run out. He absolutely does. You can't have him shelved up. You can't, because if you just shelve him up and don't have him fighting, you know, waiting for his chance against Alexander Usyk potentially, then you're talking about, what, 1 fight in 2 years, really? He fought Zhang March last year. He fought in February this year, no dates. If he's fighting again, it's not enough. I talk about dates here, it's quite frankly not enough. It really isn't. So what else do we have here? Oh yeah. So on October 25th as well, PBC are likely going to do a pay-per-view card. And on there is going to be Tony Harrison. We're going to see Jesus Ramirez versus Shane Mosley Jr. Shane Mosley Jr. is another example of a son of a great fighter who doesn't have a fraction of their dad's talent. O'Shaquie Foster versus Stephen Fulton. That's actually a really good fight, to be fair, for the WBC Super Featherweight World title. That's a good fight. I like that fight. That'd be interesting. Headlined by Sebastian Fundora versus Keith Thurman. Hate that fight. Keith Thurman should not be in there for a world title. He's had 1 fight at 154 pounds against Brock Javez, of all people. A blown up 140 pounder. Don't like it. Size difference is going to be absolutely insane. Fundora, it's a name for Fundora to look good against, and it's a name, I think, as well for just buys, really. Pay-per-view buys. Keith Thurman's known, and it'll do Fundora good. It'll branch him out a bit, like people will be more known about him. But I think it's a horrible fight. I really do. Keith Thurman, his heart hasn't been in boxing since 2017. And even then, he was fighting once a year. So, you know, I used to love Keith Thurman. When he was one time, he was great. Then he became one time, and now he's no time. That's literally, that's the way it's gone. He went from one time to run time to no time. There you go. That's Keith Thurman. Turki Al-Sheikh wants to make Turkey Yanashi wants to make Jaya Pataya versus Derek Chisora next if the Zerdo fight is unavailable. That's what he's looking to do. Ultimately, I think Jaya Pataya will likely stay at cruiserweight. He said it himself. That's what he's after. He wants the legacy being undisputed. He wants to do what Alexander Usyk did, what Evander Holyfield did, what David Haye very nearly did and becoming undisputed. I like that and I respect that. If they did him against Chisora next, I'd be making Jaya Pataya a favourite. I think he'd batter Derek Chisora from pillar to post, probably stop him as well. Chisora is looking at fight number 50. He's looking at his retirement fight. I think for Chisora, Dylan White makes an awful lot of sense. Or potentially maybe wait and see what happens with Alexander Usyk and those belts. If an IBF title becomes vacant, there you go. I'll have that. Literally. You can jump on, well, you might not have it, but you know what I mean. You'd be fighting FA Jagba. I wouldn't be picking him over a Jagba, but you know, it's a way to go out. It's a great way to bow out. So I think that's the road Derek Chisora should go down. Frank Warren has teased that Daniel Dubois will be back and his next fight will be a big fight and it will be announced ever so soon. Well, I'm glad Daniel Dubois is back. The heavyweight division is better with him in it. But as I said in several videos, you know, as I've said in several videos, right, he can change trainers all he wants. The problems that have faced him throughout his career are still going to be there because they're all mental. They're all mental, simple as they are. And I just think the problems are still going to be there. I don't think changing trainer is ever going to fix that. I think having your dad there, keep him at a distance, having him in the corner is okay as long as he knows there's one clear-cut voice. Maybe he needs to whisper encouragement into him. That might help him. But that's about it. I think the jig is up with Dubois now. I think, you know, he had 2 occasions where he capitulated and quit in fights. Okay, and then he started to show more heart. Goes in with Usyk and he gets beaten even earlier, more decisively the next time. I think the cat's out of the bag now. I think it is. So I think fighters are going to look at Dubois and think, hoo, I will have you. What else? Trainer Manny Robles tells the ring it's now or never for Andy Ruiz to get his career back on track. No, it was now or never maybe 3 years ago. Now it's just never, I think. Andy Ruiz is a disappointment to say the least because he beat Anthony Joshua. Never forget that night. Stayed up for the fight, everything. Could have pushed on. I always thought he would have lost the rematch anyway, even if he had been in shape. Could have pushed on, could have done something, and just didn't. Just threw it all away. Wanted to be a glutton. It's the best way I could describe it. He's a glutton. Simple as. And that's it. And I think now, he's got to be in his mid-30s now. Still can't get himself into shape. He's eating, drinking, God only knows, the Bob Marley as well. Yeah, that's what I got to say on that. Look, I love Andy Ruiz, I love watching him, but I just don't think anything. I think this comeback is going to end. When I say this comeback's going to end, he's tried these comebacks before. He has one fight, then he's out for 2 years. It's like, well, what is it? What is a comeback like? You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's Andy Ruiz. I think that he needs... But the problem is, I was going to say he needs someone like a Teddy Atlas who's just going to, read him the riot act. But at the end of the day, he won't put up with that. He'll just walk. I just don't think he has the internal fortitude to actually commit to boxing. I think he just wanted to get paid, punch some guys, and then go and gorge himself. Simple as. That's what I think that's the only thing I think he's in for. So, yeah. Shame all the same. Shame. I think that's pretty much it. That's actually a good one. We got a good review of the weekend. I thought this would be a bit of a slow one. Not a slow one, but it wouldn't be much. If you want, I will timestamp the Misfits stuff. Because I know a lot of people get cross when I talk about Misfits. Sorry. But it was something that happened over the weekend. And it did have some pro implications, so I said I'd talk about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Live show this weekend, guys, or this week, not this weekend. People, we have a live show this weekend on Thursday. Thursday, live show. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be one of the guests on Ade's show. Oh boy, that's going to be something else. I hope to see some faces there who I may never have seen before. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy. But it's going to be something that it's weird. Like, it's good. I seen the venue on Wednesday night. We didn't go to it, but we seen video clips of it, and it's going to look amazing. I still can't quite believe that we're doing a live show. And Ade's doing the live show, obviously, but I'm one of the guests. It's going to be fun. It's going to be weird. There's over 200, I think 200 people going. So, yeah, easy to talk in front of a camera. Easy to talk when you've only a cameraman filming you, like in Ade's flat or something like that. I've had more than 250 people live in a live stream, but I can't see any of you guys. So, yeah, that's going to be different. It's going to be different. But look, we'll see how that goes on Thursday. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts. Until next time.